Live from the Air Network studios, it's the weekly event known as Thursday Night Sports Talk. How you doing? Greg Banks in the studio along with Dave Shannon in Altoona, Chad States, Huntington, Jimmy Ty in Johnstown. As we get things started on this Thursday Night Sports Talk, welcome in. How you guys all doing? Any snow where you're living these days, Dave? Anything over your way at all?
Where the shadows are, where there's some shade, there's still a little bit of snow left on the ground, but there was very little to begin with, but just enough to be a pita, as they say, on Monday when I headed to
State
work.
College, yeah, man. I imagine going over that mountain. Chad, anything over your way at all?
No snow. Lots of wind, no snow.
Yeah, and Jimmy, you were heading down towards Hershey this morning. Do you see anything on your way down there at all?
It's a different world down there. There's not even a drop of snow.
Yeah, I imagine. Not to mention Buffalo. We'll get into that coming up in just a few moments. But, guys, I want to get your thoughts on, of course, hot stove baseball action going on amidst the Pittsburgh Pirates this week. Of course, Russell Martin leaves, and AJ Burnett returns to the Pirates. Speaking of AJ, Neil Huntington had a statement, and then AJ had a statement as well. We'll play that and then get your thoughts on the trades.
It came together fairly quickly. AJ actually reached out to me not long after he became a true free agent. We had a very good discussion. He made it clear that he wanted to do everything we could to make this work. Obviously, the man left a lot of money on the table to choose to come back to Pittsburgh and take care of unfinished business. We've had some great dialogue along the way. We wasn't going to come back for free, so we worked to make it equitable for both sides. We worked to put ourselves in a position to treat him appropriately while at the same time giving ourselves flexibility to continue to add to this club to build around the guys that are here, and that now includes AJ.
It's about winning. To me, it's about how many I got left, and my mind and my heart and my family's minds. I got one left. I want to be able to go out when I want. I'm so lucky to have the opportunity to go out where I want. There's no other place I want to finish my career but in that city with those people and with this organization and those guys in the locker room.
So A.J. Burnett mentioning the fact that he's going to wrap up his career, Dave, in Pittsburgh now and left a lot of money on the table there in Philadelphia. What's your thoughts on that?
Here's what I'm saying to AJ. Damn you, AJ! because if this is where he wanted to end his career,
he went for the money.
He has to know what Russell Martin means. And AJ, the reason I say damn you, AJ, is I just said, yes, I'm back with you. I'm going to finish with you. This is the money that I'll take from you, and I want Russell Martin behind the dish.
So you think this deal should have been made earlier, really, before Martin made a decision, I guess? Yeah.
Or he, you don't know how long, the negotiations are going on because you're not a part of it. But I would think that at some point there, it was still Russell Martin with the Pirates, and I would have just basically said, hey, I'm back, but I need Martin behind the plate. But no, I actually am just kind of kidding. I have no idea.
Well, Chad, jump in there. What's your thoughts? And then Jimmy.
I think he's coming back to be comfortable. The one thing that I've learned about A.J. Burnett is he pitches really well in comfortable situations. When he goes to the big market teams, New York, Philadelphia, he's not really performed all that well. And there's a lot more pressure on you as a pitcher in those cities than there is in Pittsburgh or when he was in Toronto.
Right.
I mean, before he got to New York, he was an outstanding pitcher for the Blue Jays, which got him that big contract in New York, and then he couldn't handle it. So I think AJ's just one of these guys that likes to be in the smaller market cities because
he's
I think he performs
country
well.
boy.
Exactly right. And that's right. I think he's going to miss Russell Martin. I don't know how you can't miss Russell Martin behind the dish.
Jimmy,
but
you
I
think
he wants to play low key.
Yeah, Jimmy, you think that's a good deal for Burnett and the Pirates now? He's back?
I think it's a good deal because he's a veteran pitcher and he can help the younger pitchers out like the Jeff Locke. Whenever he was there, not last year, the year before, Jeff Locke was a young pitcher and he helped him out. And Locke looked up to him. So I think it's a good deal for AJ to become a Pirate again so he can help out the younger pitchers. And also my own opinion is he's coming on to the Pirates. He signed a small deal thinking that Russ is going to be there. But now, whenever he retires, he'll probably want like a front office job, not say front office job, but a job like on the coaching job.
Yeah.
And he feels comfortable with Clint Hurdle, with Ray Sarich, as like an assistant pitching coach, so or in the minor league system.
Well, it sounds to me, Chad, like they're going to be able to use Sanchez now. I mean, he's the main man behind the plate.
And Cervelli.
And Cervelli is a second to Sanchez, though.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah,
That's all
really.
I gotta say. Good luck, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bad situation, Greg. I mean, I think eventually, I think a lot of the real fans that are really into baseball, because what you have is a lot of bandwagon fans that popped on here with the Pirates' success. It was just something neat, and it was nice to go watch a winner and all that. Yeah. And they're maybe not as knowledgeable about the game, the inner workings of the game, and what a particular player means. And they're going to find out how important a catcher is to a baseball team.
Well, that we are in the hot stove season. There's not a lot to talk about when it comes to Pirates, but if you go into their website, they have some highly touted minor leaguers they're talking about. Any thought that maybe you see somebody down in the minor leagues, guys, that will be emerging this coming season to help the Pirates out?
I've not heard of it.
I think that Jameson Townsend, the pitcher who had the Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
I think he'll come up probably around June, July.
Yeah.
Just to give him a little boost.
But
like Dave was saying about bandwagon fans.
Yeah.
You ask a Pirate fan right now about how important the catcher position is and how important Russell Martin is.
Oh, yeah.
They'll say, he's very important, yeah. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the teams that are winning in Major League Baseball, every one of them teams has a stud catcher.
Yeah. Well,
the Giants with Buster Posey, the Cardinals with Molina.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now with the Kansas City Royals with their catcher.
Yeah. What do you have to say, Chad, about that?
Well, I was going to say, what concerns me about the Pirates next year is everybody else in the division is making moves to get better, including the Cardinals. The Cardinals just got Jason Hayward from the Braves, trading Shelby Miller. Now, what's that tell you? The Cardinals are deep in pitching, and they have been for years. Plus, they have Molina behind the plate, so they can afford to get rid of a 3-4 starter in Shelby Miller for an outfielder that looked to be expendable with Atlanta. I'm going to tell you what, Hayward's going to come to the Cardinals. He's going to have a huge impact on that team this year. The Cubs have a lot of young talent, so don't sleep on them in the division. Guys, this just got a lot harder for Pittsburgh to even finish 500. I'm telling you, this is going to be a difficult year.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Chad. This is going to be a tough one. And, I know Clint is very good, but eventually it does come down to talent, what you have available on your roster, and Clint's going to have to really perform a miracle this year if he hopes to be able to get the team back even to a wild card game this coming season. I think you're right. I'm thinking 500 or maybe a few games underneath.
It's Thursday Night Sports Talk on the Air Network.net. Greg Banks in the studio. Dave Shannon live from Altoona, Chad States in Huntington, and Jimmy Ty in Johnstown. Hey, guys, down south, meanwhile, Miami Marlins have signed away their whole team. They've given all the money to Giancarlo Stanton, which is the largest contract in the history of sports at $325 million for 13 years. Now, people forget that Stanton wanted to be traded back in 2012 when the Marlins traded away half of the rest of their team. How's that looking for Stanton now? Because, he has some options in that contract. He's not going to be front-loaded on this contract, Chad, but he's going to get a big payday, man.
Well, he will never last that long to see all 13 years play out in Miami. Let's just step into that. But if you're Giancarlo Stanton, you got to be the happiest guy ever. There is no. I don't like long-term contracts with players. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's the right thing to do. I don't think you should go over. Me personally, I don't think you should go over 3 years.
Yeah, how's that Pujols thing turning out?
You don't know. That's exactly right.
How's that working
you look
out?
at it. How's that A-Rod deal working out?
Yeah.
You can't predict that stuff. But with that said, when you look at it, The difference between this one and every other one is the age of the player.
Yeah, he's younger.
He's still a very young guy. Again, he's not going to finish his time in Miami with this. This is going to be a topic for a number of years.
Yeah.
But from Stanton's standpoint, you got to love it for the guy.
Yeah, but the thing is, if he does at least the first 6 years, he's not going to walk away and leave like $218 million on the table. I got a feeling he's going to want to ride this out because can you trade him, Dave, and get any money for him 6 years from now? I mean, you still have to pay him.
I think what else is going on there is you've got your franchise player. He's going to be the face of the Marlins franchise. And how many guys that have been there over the course of time have ever been there long enough to say, I was the face of the franchise?
Yeah.
They are not known for holding on to a player. And he could be, if he continues to play well, he could be the Marlins' first ever entry into the Baseball Hall of Fame if everything holds up for him. So it's a great opportunity for him. And I hope he's up to it because he seems like a pretty good guy, except for the one thing that you mentioned earlier before we hit the air.
Yeah, he was partying a little bit. $30,000 bottles of champagne and twerking, man. I mean, hey, Jimmy, what's your thoughts on this Giancarlo Stanton trade? Or actually, the money deal?
Well,
man,
the Marlins are going to be playing with a bunch of minor leaguers.
Yeah,
it's going to be a minor league team because they won't be able to afford anybody else in free agency because of that money.
Yeah,
it's just going to be a whole bunch of minor leaguers coming up from AAA. The Marlins aren't going to do good. Stan's going to be the only All-Star they have.
Yeah,
and banking their whole
franchise,
the whole team on one guy. Now, what happens if he gets injured halfway during his season, as we know baseball players do, and he's gone?
Hey,
what happens if it's like a A-Rod situation, and he's gone for a whole year?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Chad, these guys don't draw that many people to Miami games anyhow, do they?
No, they're one of the worst attended teams in all of Major League Baseball, without a doubt. And maybe they're trying to keep him down there, so they've got a resident star. Is what everybody's alluding to. But man, I gotta believe there are different ways to do this, and you didn't need to pay a guy for 13 years. Now, with that said, you pay me 13 years like that, I'm twerking, baby, and I'm twerking a lot. That's a lot of money. I don't care what anybody says to me.
Well, I just don't want to see that up on YouTube. I don't want to see that on YouTube. Holy mackerel.
You don't.
There is a story, Greg, last year, whenever the Marlins were selling their season tickets, right?
Yeah.
ESPN did this story. 3 people in line for season tickets.
Down in Miami.
3 people in Miami in line for season tickets.
Yeah, it's got to be hot as hell there in August watching a ball game.
It's not. No. They have the dome now, Greg.
Oh, okay.
They average 20,000 fans a year.
That's crazy.
Not a year, a game. 20,000 fans in that brand new Marlins Park.
I know.
That's state of the art. 20,000 fans.
Well, the ticket prices have to have just gone up because of that, man. I know Jeffrey Lurie has a lot of money, but I don't know. $325 million seems like a lot of money to me for the largest contract. Having said that, in professional sports, down the road, I'm sure somebody will probably beat that as well, maybe in the NBA or we know that ain't going to happen in hockey, though, right, Dave?
No, that's for sure. Those guys get a $3 million deal. It's like, hey, this guy's at the top of the league,
and they're happy. Yeah, exactly. It's Thursday Night Sports Talk on the AirNetwork.net. Greg Banks in the studio, Dave Shannon, Altoona, Chad States in Huntington, and Jimmy Ty in Johnstown. Coming up, fantasy football, of course, college football, and a whole lot more. Stick around for that. Coming up next.
Hey, Frank. Some of us are going out for lunch. Want to join?
No, thanks. I won't be able to make it for a while. My son's heading to a 4-year university this fall, and I'm watching every penny I can to help him with tuition.
Yeah, that can be so expensive. My daughter decided to go to Pennsylvania Highlands Community College. She'll earn her associate degree in 2 years before transferring to earn her bachelor's. I'll be able to save thousands by her attending Penn Highlands first.
Pennsylvania Highlands, really? My son is stuck on attending a 4-year university right away, far from home.
My daughter was the same until I explained to her that she'd end up with the same degree and far less debt. I don't want to see her starting out her adult life with a lot of debt. Penn Highlands just made the most sense. So enjoy lunch.
Hey, wait for me.
I thought you couldn't afford to eat out.
That was before you mentioned Penn Highlands. How do I find out how to get my son enrolled?
I'll fill you in over lunch, but start by visiting Pennsylvania Highlands online at pennhighlands.edu.
If you're searching for a used vehicle, or perhaps a used boat for a leisurely trip on the lake, find them today online at penswoods.net. From things for sale or things to buy, the free classifieds at penswoods.net have it all. From houses for sale, apartments for rent, or even things to trade. Penswoods.net is the region's largest site for free classifieds.
A loser.
Check it out
Everyone
today.
hates you. Why don't you just stay in your car and keep driving? I'm serious. Drive until you run out of gas, then get out of your car and walk until you find someone who doesn't think you're dumber than bricks. Could take a while, but at least all that walking might burn a couple of calories.
You may not witness bullying like this every day. Your kids do. They want to help, but they don't know how. Visit stopbullying.gov to learn safe, simple ways your child can help stop bullying. Be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
It's Thursday Night Sports Talk on the AirNetwork.net. Greg Banks in the studio, Dave Shannon, Altoona, Chad States Huntington, Jimmy Ty, the fantasy football guy in Johnstown. Cranking it up here on the rock and roll station. I love playing some of this stuff. I just found that last week, too. Hey, Jimmy, fantasy football this week. Chiefs taking on the Oakland Raiders tonight, Thursday Night Football. Before we get to a prediction on that, who's hot in the league this week, and who are some of the sleepers in fantasy football?
Jonas Gray of the New England Patriots.
Yeah. Did you guys see that, Dave and Chad? This guy,
Yes.
Jonas Gray. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
201 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Oh, man, amazing.
Another hot player that most people have is Le'Veon Bell of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right.
He had over 200 yards in that Monday night contest against the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
And the third player I would say that would be the hot player right now, the grab is, sad to say it, but Andy Dalton. He came back strong.
Yeah. And we got to face him, twice this season yet?
Yeah, 2 games yet.
Andy Dalton.
That is crazy. Now, listen to this. Oakland and Chiefs are playing tonight, Thursday Night Football. Let's be realistic here. Do we know anybody on the Raiders this year? Hey, Jimmy, is Terrell Pryor still out there playing quarterback?
No, but he's getting looked at by a couple teams.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of guys getting looked at. I mean, but hey, come on. He doesn't have a gig. Who does the Raiders have, by the way?
Lamar Woodley.
Okay, he used to play for the Steelers,
former Steeler, Maurice Jones-Drew.
Okay.
Darren McFadden, Darren McFadden.
Okay.
That guy's a sleeper.
Yeah.
And Derek Carr, their quarterback, a young quarterback, a rookie quarterback from Fresno State. He's keeping up in the league with some of these old time players like a Manning and with Brady with his numbers.
Yeah, what's the reality though that the Oakland Raiders even show up tonight, and how bad can you predict that score? Yeah, you first, Jimmy, then we'll go round robin here.
Is there anything else on TV tonight?
Yeah, there's some reality shows I'll be watching. Not that one though.
No, but I would say the Kansas City Chiefs behind Jamal Charles is going to have a huge game. He's going to have close to 200 yards. I'm going to say 180 yards rushing for Jamal Charles, and the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Oakland Raiders by the final score of 35-7.
Okay, and Chad, you're kind of impressed with those Chiefs and Andy Reid this year. What do you think in this ball game tonight?
I think it's going to be 35-3. I watched Kansas City and Seattle play last week the 1 o'clock game, and I'll tell you what, I've watched enough NFL to let you know that the Kansas City defense is pretty dang good and really, really impressive to watch. Mm-hmm. What they were able to do to Seattle and hold them out of the end zone, that's a team that hasn't allowed a rush touchdown in 10 straight games.
Really?
So, yeah, absolutely. 10 straight games right now. They've not allowed a rush touchdown. And Seattle was down there twice and couldn't get it in with Marshawn Lynch. Wow. So, I'm predicting a very big score tonight. I think Kansas City's defense is the difference in the ball game because they are very, very good and fun to watch.
Yeah, Dave, meanwhile, I know Penguins don't play tonight, but you probably see this game as a sleeper, don't you?
This is snooze time. I'll tell you what, I just found out that on Fox Sports 1 right now, it's Kansas State and West Virginia in college football. There's There's a game with some potential. So if you have Fox Sports 1, and that's probably where I'll spend most of my time. Although it's kind of tempting to sneak off onto college hoops because college hoops are out there. As a matter of fact, Penn State will be on TV Friday and tomorrow. And I think it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They'll be on ESPNU.
Well, we don't dabble too much in college basketball. We will talk about it from time to time, however. But I understand what you're saying. If there was some college hoops on tonight and that was the only thing, you'd be watching that instead of the Oakland Chiefs game, right?
Penn State is playing right now, guys.
Go ahead, Chad. You said what?
I say Penn State's playing right now. They're losing to Charlotte 78-73 with
that's right.
54 seconds to go.
They're over in Hawaii,
that's today's
right?
game.
This is my question for everybody.
Yeah, what's that, Jimmy?
This is my question for everybody. Okay. I saw online that an NBA player said that the Kentucky Wildcats basketball team can beat
the Sixers,
the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, can the Alabama football team beat the Oakland Raiders?
No. We're talking a difference of college players and grown men. That's what we're talking about. I don't care how bad the Sixers are. They're grown men. They were also draft choices as well. And I don't care how good collectively Kentucky is, and they are amazing, by the way, this year in basketball, which gets us away from the subject. But no, I got to believe when you say that, it doesn't matter. You're playing grown men as opposed to college kids. So you can kind of bail on that one. Meanwhile, the Steelers edged out a win against the Titans Monday Night Football. Some thoughts on that game, Chad, if you will. Did you see anything that impressed you?
No, I saw a lot of stuff that depressed me, though. It's just like we talked about. It's the same old Steelers. All right, they eked it out in the fourth quarter because they went to Le'Veon Bell and decided, you know what, let's put the ball in the hands of our best player. But up to that point, they played with the Titans, and that's what they do.
Yeah, they played down.
So actually, at the end of the third quarter, I really felt like turning off the TV set whenever the Tennessee scored their last touchdown.
Yeah, I almost did too.
I stuck with it, and that's just because Le'Veon was playing such a good game. But Pittsburgh just continues to play to that level, and this is coaching.
Yeah,
this is not the players. That's on Tomlin and his team.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing they have a bye this week, Jimmy. Were you impressed with anything on that Monday night game?
Yeah, that LaGarett Blount's no longer with the team that he walked out on him.
Yeah, I was I didn't hear about that till Tuesday morning, though.
He was a cancer for that team. He was bringing Le'Veon Bell down. And he was bringing all the players down on that team. Now with LaGarett Blount gone, I think the Steelers are going to do a little bit better. Mm-hmm. But talking about the Monday night game, that Le'Veon Bell, he really impressed me with over 200 yards. They kept on giving him the ball, and I'm like, the Titans can't stop this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
They cannot stop him.
Hey, Dave, that LaGarett Blount thing that happened with him being upset walking off the field the other night, do you think that was pretty swift action on the part of the Rooneys and Tomlin Tuesday morning?
Yeah, I think that you have to, and it's too little, too late. It's like Chad said. You got to start looking at the serious nature of what's going on. By the way, Penn State's within 2 now of Charlotte, 78-76, with 31.8 left to go in the game.
Well, they should have seen that Blunt thing coming when he punched out that player. Yeah, when he was in college.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really tough, and I just keep, Mike Tomlin seems like a good guy, but I don't know how much of a leader he really is, because I'd have taken the bull by the horns at that point. And there's another thing, too. You talk about the influence that Blount has and what that was for Le'Veon Bell and how bad it might have been. Man, you got to be able to see that as a coach and say, I don't need that guy on my team.
Yeah.
And just do this early on. And they never did do that early on. It kind of surprised me. I'm seeing some things with the character of some of the players and the fact that the coaching staff is not reeling those characters in like they had in the past. It's like, you look at how many guys they've managed to get rid of that have gone on to other teams. They were great with the Steelers, and then they went on to other teams, and they were never the type of player that they were in Pittsburgh. That is because Pittsburgh has always been a character-building team.
Right.
And making more of a man out of a young man.
Hey, but conversely, man, you also have a team like the Steelers who are forgiving and will bring players back like Harrison and Kiesel. You know what I mean? Who can use these
guys. But they didn't do anything.
Well, I understand
they
that.
weren't bad guys.
I understand
they weren't
that.
bad guys.
Yeah, Twitter went kind of crazy on Tuesday morning when I found out that Blount was let go. Matter of fact, a lot of people said that they should have had him walk home, or maybe said, hey, you get your own bus home or your own flight home. What do you guys think about that, Chad?
Do they have mega bus service from Tennessee?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I would have put him on his own, that's for sure. But it was interesting to see how many players were glad to watch him walk away.
Oh, yeah.
So, maybe things change because the culture of the locker room is going to change.
Yeah.
I still think, and I'm with Dave on this, Tomlin's held accountable for what this team represents. And I question his leadership, and it's got to start at the top. There is no question in New England who the leader of that football team is. It's Bill Belichick. Period. End of story.
Well,
and I question what Tomlin brings to the table. Yeah,
well,
he might be a good guy.
Yeah, in light of the situation with the Patriots, though, do you think Belichick is obvious? He's a more forgiving guy since Blount has been there and just signed on again today to play for the Pats. But in light of that Hernandez deal, do you think Bill Belichick is one of those guys that looks at these players and says, I'll rehab him? Because he's got a couple of players that he's had on that team that were rehab jobs.
Well, I think it's a lot easier to rehab somebody that's, dabbling in marijuana, which is now legal in many states. And it's quite another to rehab a stinking murderer.
Yeah,
so,
that's true, too.
You're looking at two different things there. So,
yeah, but Blount must have had an attitude, man, obviously, because he wasn't getting along with people in that locker room at all.
Well,
Todd Haley said in an article that I read that they were sort of not going to be playing Blount as much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be more focusing on Le'Veon Bell, and they were sort of pushing Blount out the door that way with less playing time. And right there is a perfect example in Tennessee. Got no carries.
Yeah, he didn't get on the field. I mean, why would
he returned a punt return.
Oh,
he was out for a punt return.
But, when you've got another runner or another guy rushing for 204 yards, man, you're not going to pull him out of that game and give him time.
My question is, where is LaRod Stevens-Howland?
That's what I asked yesterday on Facebook.
He was with the Steelers last year.
Yeah.
He knows this. He knows Haley's playbook. He knows the way Tomlin coaches.
Yep.
LaRod, if you're listening to us,
man, we need you
please
back.
Sign with Pittsburgh.
Well, they did bring in.
Counters need you.
Yeah, they did bring somebody into camp. I saw on the nightly news tonight on the Sports Center, and I can't recall the kid's name. He's a short running back. And he's from Duke, actually, and he's now on the squad. They just signed him in place of Blount. Hey, let me get your thoughts.
Greg, real quick, what's his stats as far as height and weight go?
I'm not really sure, but the guy's like 5'6", 5'7". He probably goes about 180 to 190 pounds.
Okay. Not the kind of guy I was looking for.
Yeah, and I didn't get his
you know what his name is?
No.
John Harris. Or
is
Josh. No. Sorry. Josh Harris.
That's who
Not
it was.
Josh
yeah.
Harrison.
Son.
Josh Harris.
Yeah, Josh Harris. And he comes from Duke, I understand. So,
yes, that's true.
We'll see how he works out in camp. Meanwhile, let me get your thoughts round robin real quick, Dave. Thoughts on the upcoming Jets game in Buffalo this Sunday. Should Commissioner Goodell follow the suit with the governor of New York and just shut that game down, maybe play it on Tuesday? Just make some arrangements. And
Absolutely.
What venue would they go to now? I mean, what do you do and when would you play that game?
You flip it back to the Jets where there's no to the Jets where there's no problem.
Metropolitan Stadium.
Yeah, let them MetLife Stadium.
Yeah, MetLife.
And let them play that game there because it's just silly. I mean, what's going on in Buffalo is a very serious thing.
Very serious.
And, when you come right down to it, we know what happened on 9/11, and our major sport at the time that happened was baseball, and it shut down for almost a week.
Yeah.
And, that's the way life is a big thing. Sports just happens to be something we enjoy, and I think we can do without that.
Yeah, Jimmy, your thoughts on that? Because, people can't even get out of nursing homes right now or to get oxygen or food. So I think the last thing they're thinking about is playing football. Would you agree? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the last thing they're thinking about. Like, whenever we had the hurricane down in Florida, whenever I lived there, that was the last thing anybody thought of was sports.
Yeah, exactly.
We thought of how to take care of each other and to try to get Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda back up to where it is right now. So in regards to the Bills-Jets, They should display that game on Tuesday.
Yeah, because you can't really go much further into the week because next week is Thanksgiving, Chad. And Chad, maybe your thoughts on that snowstorm up there in that game.
Well, the game's already canceled in Buffalo.
Okay,
just so
good.
you guys know, it's already wiped out of Buffalo. They are considering a number of venues, two of which one's in Detroit and one's Pittsburgh. I don't think it's going to go down to Pittsburgh. I honestly think it's going to end up going to Detroit because that's the Dome is. Well, Dave, I will say this. I disagree with it going to the Jets because that gives the Jets a home field advantage. Yeah. You don't want that if you're Buffalo. So I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, why don't they
finish on that? Let me finish on that.
Toronto.
Well, go ahead, Dave.
Toronto's not a bad idea.
That's right.
No, that's not a bad idea.
Toronto.
Syracuse isn't a bad idea either. I don't even know if that was even considered. Why?
Yeah, it is, but they won't do it because it's not an NFL-ready stadium. They want to put the game in a stadium that is equipped to handle an NFL game from all the media and everything, television and all that other stuff. College stadiums are not built like an NFL stadium is.
Right, exactly. Go ahead, Dave. You were going to finish your thought then.
Yeah, what I was going to say about that, if you move the game to New York this year, and it's like you sit down, and I think you can reach a quick decision. Maybe you can't. I don't know. But you say next year, okay, the games, you're going to get the return game, and there's going to be 2 in Buffalo next year.
Well, Buffalo hasn't even practiced all week, so good luck on getting out of Buffalo, guys.
But what I'm saying for next year, to do that, send it back to the Jets.
Yeah.
That's what you work some kind of a deal where you make that, you even that up next year. To do it that way. But I you know what, Jimmy, that was a good idea because I had not thought of Toronto. And Toronto, the Air, is that the Air Canada?
That's right across the border there. I mean, that's not even a long trip from Buffalo, man.
No, it's only about 45 minutes to, somewhere in that area.
I thought about
the Dome Stadium.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
the Bills played there a couple times before.
Yeah, they've had
and
games
it's set
there.
for football anyway because of the Argonauts.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, how this thing all will spin out, but right now they've got about 5 to 6 feet of snow to deal with, and another 2 to 3 coming overnight into tomorrow. So good luck on whatever they decide to do there. I think I'd rather just be playing hockey. It's a Thursday night sports talk on the airnetwork.net. Greg Banks in the studio, Jimmy Ty, Johnstown, Dave Shannon, Altoona, Chad States in Huntington. We'll be back with more coming up next. Need printing services done with quality, on time, and at a reasonable price? Then stop by Images Print Shop in downtown Huntington, where they can help you design and print brochures, business forms, business cards, newsletters, flyers, and so much more. Images Print Shop is your hometown print shop and web hosting service dedicated to excellent and quality service at affordable prices. See what Images Print Shop can do for you online at imagesprintshop.com or call us weekdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 643-1799.
What does sacrifice mean to you? Is it giving up your time and energy to keep America safe? Is it putting yourself in harm's way to protect our nation's way of life? No? Then maybe it's giving up that third latte to take care of the heroes that do.
The VFW makes it easy to help. Just call 1-855-9-HELP-VET. That's 855-9-HELP-VET.
The VFW. No one does more for veterans.
This message brought to you by the Huntington VFW Post 1754 on Penn Street.
I've had trouble with Angel trying to finish high school. He's always struggled through even elementary. It would be frustrating because sometimes I would talk to him and he wouldn't even turn around and look at me. I would ask him, "So you're going to school today, right?" He would say, "Yeah." And then later during the day, I would get a phone call saying he wasn't in class. He dropped out for a whole month. There's a time that I just gave up. I just decided, you know what, I don't know what to do with you. I mean, I pretty much have done everything to try to get you back to school. You feel that maybe you're not a good parent or maybe you don't know how to fix the problem. I really didn't have many people to look to but myself. Now I think that it's gotten a lot better. Now I at least have hope that he'll finish high school. I can't give up. He's still my son, I can't give up.
Give your teen the boost they need to graduate. Call 1-877-4A-KID or join us at boostup.org for tips and advice. Brought to you by the U.S. Army and the Ad Council.
It's the airnetwork.net. Welcome to Thursday Night Sports Talk on the Air Network. Greg Banks in the studio, Jimmy Ty, Johnstown, Dave Shannon, Altoona, and live on Skype from Huntington, it's Chad States. And I tell you what, it was a great weekend of football. If you were watching football, especially the Mississippi State game, I was real thrilled with that, man. And maybe even the Florida State game. Not real enthralled with that Penn State beating of Temple, 30-13. But they did have a nice running game, though, Chad, in that game. So things are coming together as Penn State becomes bowl eligible, wouldn't you say?
Well, they're bowl eligible, but I wouldn't say things are coming together. It's more like trying to evaluate their running game against Massachusetts. That's what they should do against a really bad football team.
Yeah.
When I start to look at what Penn State brings to the table, it's defense and defense only. Christian Hackenberg did not look good at all on Saturday.
No, he looked
he was absolutely terrible. The running game was there just because Temple's not a good football team.
Yeah.
So, I'm not hanging my hat on anything other than Penn State's getting to a bowl this year.
Yeah, and they are now 6-4 on the season. As they play out the rest of the season, they'll take on Illinois this weekend, Saturday, for a noon kickoff. Dave, you think they could win out the rest of the season, get to a half-decent, warm location for a bowl?
No, obviously Michigan State's a loss. You just look at that. That's a loss. Sorry. Yeah. There's no way that's happening. I'm a big believer in any given Sunday or any given Saturday, but that's not one of them.
Well, let's face it. If they get to the Pinstripe Bowl, Jimmy, that's in New York.
That'd be neat.
Yeah, but weather-wise, it's not warm climate or anything.
It's not Florida.
No, it's not. But what do you think their chances of getting a half-decent bowl, Jimmy? Anything there for Penn State as they travel through the rest of the season?
I think they have a chance of getting a half-decent bowl. Like Dave said, they're going to lose to Michigan State, so this is going to be their last win of the regular season.
Yeah.
But I can see them getting to a nice little bowl. Maybe like the Pinstripe Bowl, like you said, at Yankee Stadium. But
I like to see them get to the Chick-fil-A Bowl because you get free Chick-fil-A if you go there. I mean, something to eat, I mean, hey, I'm going to watch all the games anyhow, but I'll be eating while I'm watching them. Yeah.
But I'll say this, Pitt.
Their chances are slim and none, huh?
Well, we have Syracuse this week, which
right.
They are 6th in the Atlantic Conference with only 3 wins. So let's say Pitt wins that game.
Yeah.
And we finish up with the University of Miami.
Yeah.
Baby.
Yeah, that could be a rough one.
Where is that one, Jimmy?
We're not going to win. That's next week.
At Pitt?
No, it is at Miami.
At Miami.
Well, let's talk about that loss.
No. Hey, goodbye.
Yeah. Let's talk about that Pitt loss to UNC, 40-35 last Saturday. One of the bright spots was James Connors. I mean, he was seriously the workhorse in that game, Jimmy. I mean, the guy looked like he was just a running stud.
James Connors the only player they have right now on that football team who really cares about playing for Pitt.
Yeah.
I think the rest of the team just giving up, saying, you know what, maybe next year, guys. We're all sophomores. We'll come back as juniors, and we'll take it next year. But Pitt gave up.
All right.
Pitt gave up. Next week is our bowl game against Miami.
Okay, go ahead,
there
Chad.
You go.
Chad, you were going to say something there?
No, actually, I had a question for Chad because I think we kind of touched on this last week. Mentally, is Christian Hackenberg shot? I mean, we've noticed, both of us have talked about him being a little bit off here. I've seen him even within games. He has stretches where he throws the football well and then he throws the ball horribly. Is something in his head being a sophomore and having the coaching change happen?
I think something's in his head about having an offensive line that's so damn bad that you can't function.
That would scare me.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it is. When you have to constantly look down as opposed to up as a quarterback, you've got an issue. And he should be looking down the field every time he's doing his 3-step and 5-step dropbacks. And he can't. He's got to constantly focus on the pass rush and how to move out of the pocket to be able to even throw the ball. So I really think that's weighing on him every time. I think the coaching change has something to do with him.
Oh, yeah.
He's in his second year and he's on his second offense, so trying to learn and adapt to something that's different than what Bill O'Brien brought to the
different system.
The table is definitely, that definitely hurts him too.
Yeah.
But what I'm not seeing out of him is whenever he does have time, I'm seeing him make poor decisions. I'm seeing him throw the ball soft. He's not stepping into his throws like he was last year. And that's what concerns me with Hackenberg.
Well, and is that due to the fact that he's got that lack of confidence in his line or what's going to happen to him? Because, once you get happy feet in the pocket, And even though it may not look like you have happy feet, that's something that goes beyond just your feet and what you're doing in the pocket. It's in your brain too, that you end up with happy feet in your brain. It's like, oh hell, I got to get rid of this because I know I'm going to get knocked to the ground here, if I wait any longer, and then you make a poor decision.
Yeah, I think it's a collection of all those things, Dave. First of all, again, I guess the question I want to ask is how many years out are we before James Franklin can recruit that line that he seriously needs?
Oh, you're 2 years out.
2 years out, yeah.
So you're a solid 2 years out.
Yeah, so that makes it awfully tough. And I don't blame the young guy because obviously, and the Steelers oftentimes have that same problem. I mean, if you watch Ben, he likes to stay confidently in the pocket, but, man, there are times when it's a bull rush, man, and they're just coming from everywhere.
That line in Pittsburgh's getting better.
Yeah, they are.
Mike Munchak.
A lot better.
Yeah, they are.
Mike Munchak.
Yep. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Look at the New York Giants last year.
Oh, yeah.
Eli Manning with all them interceptions because he was not confident with his offensive line, and he had happy feet, and he would just throw the ball and get it intercepted. Same thing with Christian Hackenberg.
Yeah.
He's not comfortable with that offensive line, that makeshift offensive line that Penn State had all year long.
Mm-hmm.
So he has happy feet, and he gets scared, and he just throws the ball away. Wait until Hackenberg's at least a senior. He'll have 2 more years in Jay Franklin's system.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be comfortable with that offensive line, and he's just going to explode by his senior year.
Well, Jimmy, in regards to what you were saying about Eli Manning, he's still having those problems. I mean, their line with that new system that they have is terrible, too. So, this guy, he's having some difficult problems, obviously, with the New York Giants.
Peyton.
Yeah. Peyton's not having a problem, but Eli's seriously having a problem.
Peyton's problems are his own.
Yeah.
It's not about his offensive line. It's what he's doing.
No, and and things will get better for both of those guys. Chad, give me sort of like a sum up of the Huntington Bearcat football season as we take a look at District 6 finals between Mount Union and Tyrone coming up this Saturday at Mansion Park. What'd you think about that game with the Bearcats and Tyrone?
Well, I mean, Huntington, going into it, I knew Huntington was not going to be able to compete. Tyrone's just way too balanced.
Yeah.
And we had the propensity to be able to turn over the ball. And 4 turnovers led to 4 Tyrone scores and a 42-15 football game. I'm not surprised. Huntington's still a young team trying to come together. They only had 4 seniors on the team, and only 3 of them played. And honestly, when they graduate, you're not going to notice that they were even really there. So, the bulk of the team comes back next year. They had some growing pains.
Yeah.
This year was a little bit of a challenge for them. I think we all knew that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But for them to get to the District 6 semifinals and beat a 9-1 Juniata team in the quarterfinals, that bodes well moving forward. That gives the kids something to build on to next year other than just ending on a loss.
Yeah.
And that's so key to the psyche of an athlete, is something to build on heading into the off season and then into next year.
Well, how they taken to the strength and conditioning program that they started there a couple years ago? Are more kids getting signed up for that and taking it seriously like they do at Altoona High and some of the other schools?
Not as much as I would like to see it.
Yeah.
I even push these kids in baseball. A lot of them play baseball for me, and I tell them, get in the room. They need to. And it showed. On some of these teams like Tyrone, we got beat.
Out-muscled, man.
And out-muscled, and that's exactly right. When Tyrone's starting wide receiver, Nick Getz, was bigger than our offensive lineman.
Oh, yeah.
And he was their wide receiver. So that, and I was going down the sidelines pointing that out to kids, saying, look how big he is compared to you. That's dedication in the weight room. And that's what separates you. It's not that they have better athletes.
Yeah.
They're more dedicated to it. So, sometimes you get what you ask for, so to speak. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing.
Hey, Dave and Jimmy,
they need to hook up a deal to get them to the pizza place there in Huntington more often.
I don't think so.
First to the pizza place and then to the weight room.
Well, Dave and Jimmy, I have fond memories of being at District 6 finals about this time of the year during those games of the week. Now, I believe tomorrow, it's District 6 Single A, Bishop Guilfoyle and Portage, and that's always a great game. But the Marauders, by the way, are actually, they blanked everybody, Chad, this year. Bishop Guilfoyle, man.
I think, and Bishop Guilfoyle also destroyed Somerset, and I don't know if it's a telltale to you.
Yeah.
There's something over there that's brewing.
You see them going pretty deep? I mean, they ought to go pretty deep in this thing.
I honestly, out of all the teams in the district, I see them going the deepest out of anybody.
How do you see that matchup on Saturday night now between Mount Union and Tyrone?
I don't think it's going to go favorable for Tyrone. Sorry to all my fans, my friends that live in Tyrone. Not
Too
fans,
many weapons,
friends that
man.
live in Tyrone. That's right, but they do. Tyrone likes to pass. Well, the Mount Union secondary has over 20 interceptions on the year. 17 by 2 players.
Yeah.
So this is something where Mount Union stars will shine brightly against Tyrone.
Oh, definitely. Dave, we always had a good time there, Mansion Park, man. They always set us up. I believe, Jimmy, when you were with us, we even got fed over there. Like, remember Tom Bradley was the, what was he, the spokesperson, Dave?
Yeah, he was a media relations person.
Oh, media relations. Yeah, he always took care of us at those games. The only thing that sucked is we used to have to run those cables up over the back of the stadium, and I was the guy that had to crawl up in those holes.
There was like a pipe.
Yeah.
There's a pipe underneath the track.
Yep.
You would have to somehow fish the cable up, fish it down underneath the track.
Yeah.
And then as the sideline cameraman, you don't have that much cable, and you're yanked.
Yeah, you're yanked each way. But I tell you what, they put those pipes in there when you remember, Dave, they had the state championships there, and then Bob Jubileer tried to get those state championships back, and the PIAA denied him, and that he was going to do something legislatively to put him out of business, but he never did. He never could because they're I guess a non-profit group or something that's not even affiliated with the state.
Yeah, well, I think the route that he eventually tried to pursue was to make it very difficult for Hershey to compete because ultimately the PIAA, whatever you want to say about the organization, but I'll tell you what, they try to manage that so that they get the best deal in order to pull off these championships.
Oh, yeah.
And they had, it makes all the sense in the world to have the basketball championships in State College. It is the geographic center of the state.
Yeah.
And it made all the sense in the world. And ultimately, the decision came down to Hershey said, we're going to make you this deal. By the way, the Penn State game now into double overtime at Charleston. Okay. Yeah. Tied at 90 after first overtime.
Well, restaurants and hotels have a lot to do with that, too. Hotels, restaurants, I mean, hey,
Oh, absolutely. And I think that, I actually credit the PIAA for looking for a good deal. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, it's disappointing to lose something like that in Altoona. But you got to give the PIAA a little bit of credit for looking to, pull that off in the best venue possible. Yeah. And that comes down to cost too. Yeah. What's it going to cost?
And there's something iconic about going to Hershey.
To Hershey.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody, and there is, and Jimmy, you might find out. But there's something iconic about going to Hershey.
Yeah.
There just is.
And playing at that field, yeah.
That's exactly right. I can remember when my best friend's brother was a wrestler, Jason Shea, who won the state title.
State champion,
He won the state championship down in Hershey, and it was just, hey, we're going to Hershey. It was just, I guess it was just really cool for us to go down there.
Yeah, no doubt.
And
go ahead, Jimmy.
Look at this. Last week, the PIAA held their girls volleyball championship.
Yeah.
At Richland High School in Johnstown.
And that means Richland had to bid on that in order to get it.
Richland had to bid on that, but I remember whenever I would shoot for Atlantic Broadband, WGAC, when Bishop Guilfoyle went to the state championship game, they would throw Hershey Kisses out onto the basketball
I remember
court.
That. Yeah.
And them kids are so excited to say, hey, we're going to Chocolate Town, USA, to play in the biggest game of our lives.
Well, Dave and I remember back when the state championship wrestling was held at Rec Hall. That was like massive back in the 70s, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember Dave Joyner wrestling. About 1969, he wrestled heavyweight for State College High. So, I mean, I go way back. Even when the Jaffa Mosque would hold the district wrestling matches there. That was always a treat, because I could get on the train and make it back home before church the next morning.
There you go. There you go.
Hey, anyhow, some more memories coming up here on the Thursday night edition of Thursday Night Sports Talk on the airnetwork.net. Greg Banks in the studio, Dave Shannon, Altoona, Chad States in Huntington, Jimmy Ty in Johnstown. We'll have more about hockey, wrestling, and a whole lot more coming up next. Restore the luster of your home or business now by calling Ted's Painting and Drywall at 814-641-0479. Ted's Painting and Drywall does quality exterior and interior painting, staining, faux finishing, trim work, and wall repair. Plus, Ted's Painting and Drywall can remove wallpaper and finish drywall for one room or the whole house. Ted's Painting and Drywall, a licensed contractor offering a 20% discount to seniors and 35% discount to churches. Book your work now at Ted's Painting and Drywall. Call 641-0479.
Kick off your appetite with great food from Original Italian Pizza in downtown Huntington, where Bearcat fans huddle up before and after the big game. OIP in downtown Huntington provides your taste buds with appetizers, dinners, pizzas, subs, and so much more. Stop by OIP in downtown Huntington for a sandwich, meal, and cold drinks 7 days a week, or call ahead for takeouts at 643-0665 or 643-0666. OIP in downtown Huntington with the best food and the lowest prices in town.
Alright, I've gone through all the tracks, just move through the beats. Do your thing.
Alright, everyone, let's hear it for West High's own Brooke Turner, a.k.a. DJ Hook.
Scratching at my first school dance takes confidence. So getting into college, I've got what it takes. Okay, I went through the practice sessions, I slept good, I feel good.
We will now begin the test. Please take out your pencils.
I got this.
We're all good at something. Maybe it's breakdancing or skateboarding or video games. Whatever you're good at, you had the skills to make it happen. And those same skills will help us get to college. Visit knowhowtogo.org to learn what you should be doing right now to prepare for college. Start taking the steps at knowhowtogo.org.
I've got what it takes. So do you.
Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Thursday Night Sports Talk on the AirNetwork.net. It is our Thursday get-together with Dave Shannon, Chad States, and Jimmy Ty live on the Air Network. By the way, we rebroadcast Fridays from 4 to 5 in case you miss our live edition. So let's jump into some wrestling real quick and wrap it up with some hockey. First of all, Chad, Penn State back on the road this weekend against Pitt tomorrow night, then on to Clarion on Saturday. How do you think the weekend looks for the Nittany Lions?
It's a 2-0 weekend for the Nittany Lions. Pitt's going to be a good challenge. In fact, I'll be at Fitzgerald Fieldhouse tomorrow evening for that. Mm-hmm. About 3 o'clock, I ought to be munching on a Permane Brothers sandwich, so life is going to be good, fellas, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is, man.
But I think the Nittany Lions are going to win 2. Pitt's going to be a close one. Clarion's going to be a blowout.
Yeah.
And Penn State's going to remain 5th in the nation.
Well, Clarion wrestles in the Eastern Wrestling League. Is that right?
They do. They wrestle in the EWL.
Yeah.
Lock Haven, Bloomsburg, Cleveland State, Edinburgh. Those teams, which is a very solid league in its own right. Clarion's they're just down. They're not the Clarion of old. So in Penn State is just they got state champ after state champ after state champ in that room. It's really hard to compete with them.
Hey, some of the Penn State guys wrestle like independent tournaments, I guess, throughout the year, too. I mean, it's not a team thing, but they have some standouts on that team that you can mention on the Nittany Lions squad this year, Chad?
On the starters, they've got a lot of standouts.
Yeah.
I mean, Jimmy Goulabon at 133 is just going to be an absolute bear to deal with.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are going to find out he's going to be a high-ranking All-American before it's all said and done. 165, Garrett Hammond, another freshman. A very talented, a very high point scorer. The Alton brothers, Dylan and Andrew, might be coming back. You got Zach Bites at 149.
Now, those guys, are they from the Central Mountain region, or where are they from?
They are from Central Mountain. Andrew's just been bit by, in fact, they've both been bit by the injury bug pretty much their whole entire career.
Yeah.
Andrew might be done because of a torn ACL in his leg that he just might not be able to recover from. Dylan's recovering from a shoulder problem. Will probably be back probably sometime in the next month or two. He will take the spot at 157 away from Cody Blaw at that point in time.
Right. So
when you look at this open tournament that they went to, they had 3 champions there: Garrett Hammond, Jason Nolf, and Nick Nevels. Nolf and Nevels are going to be redshirt freshmen this year. You won't see them in the starting lineup till next year.
Yeah.
But let me tell you what, when they hit the mats, they are going to be electric. They are national champions waiting to happen.
Yeah, but they have some guys of stature on the pit squad, I understand, as I'm looking at some of these interstate wrestling statistics. Any good matches you think tomorrow night? Some of the exciting matches?
I think 125 is going to be a very good match between Dom Forres, who's a WPAL wrestler, which is interesting that he didn't make the state he didn't make the state tournament last year because there were 3 other guys that were ahead of him that all finished like 1, 2, and 4 in the state championship. So him and Conaway is going to be a heck of a good match. I think Gulaban is going to have a nice match at 133.
Yeah.
I think 157 is an interesting one because it's Tyrone's Ronnie Garbinski versus Forest Hill's Cody Law.
Yeah.
But once you start to get to the upper weights, 185 or 184 with Morgan McIntosh, and I think that's Bonacorsi or Wilps from Pitt.
Yeah.
Both of those kids are All-Americans that are going to be button heads. So this one has the makings of being a good, tight match.
Oh, good. Have a great time in Pittsburgh. Speaking of which, I'd like a Permane brother, so to go, please.
Listen, when I'm eating that, I'll think of all of you, but I'll be eating it.
Well, why can't you just like freeze frame the thing or like dry ice it and send it to us? I mean, hey, come on, bud.
It's true.
Yeah, okay. Hey, listen, speaking of Pittsburgh, Dave, some sad news. Pascal Dupuis diagnosed with a blood clot in his lung, and I want you to listen to this, and then we'll talk a little bit about it.
Pascal, I was wondering if you could share if the feeling you had on Monday was similar at all to what you went through last winter, and if you right away knew there was something more serious going on.
The way I felt, probably trying to deny it, probably did not want to feel that way. Yeah, it did feel the same way, the exact same way it felt before, and just didn't want to believe it.
Dave, this is another downer in the career of this young man. I mean, man, he is going through some stuff. Maybe you can speak a little bit about that.
Well, first off, he's a guy of character, and he came when the preseason, everything started back up. Pascal Dupuis was ready to play. He was ready to, be himself, and he was. And it's so sad that you end up with this, seeing, as I had said about Mike Johnston getting the band back together and putting him back out there in the line with Crosby and Kunitz and watching them play. And there's a chemistry with those 3 guys that's really amazing and remarkable. But once again, we alluded to this a little bit earlier in our broadcast, and that is life is way more important than what the sports are. And Pascal Dupuis is a top-notch guy. He is really involved in the community in Pittsburgh, and we wish him all the best. And I'll tell you what, I was really to go along. The knee injury is something that's really something that you know what it is. You know what you have to do. But last year when Chris Letang had a stroke of all things, and you see that happen, and you see this happen to Dupuis, and you're just reminded of what really is important in life. We love our sports. We like to talk about it. We like to watch it.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's life.
Well, this blood clot is a result of the ACL or the MCL surgery he had done last year. And somebody asked him at the press conference the other day, were you feeling signs? And he said, yeah, my heart or my chest was tight for some reason. And the doctor said had he not gone to them immediately, they would have never discovered the blood clot. Man, that's amazing. And he talks about his family, how important they are. And he says right now, even though he wants to be with his buds on the ice, his family's more important to him because he goes, I'm not going to play hockey for the rest of my life. So he's out for the rest of the season. How does the season look for the Penguins going forward, though?
I think it's just amazing to watch that team. And the couple years ago there when all the injuries were stacking up, it was plug and play. Dan Bilesma, it was literally you bring a guy up from Scranton Wilkes-Barre, and they're basically playing the same kind of offense, and I would imagine that Mike Johnston has managed to get his philosophies into Scranton Wilkes-Barre in some way, shape, or form. And it makes it so easy to bring guys up from that level of hockey to Pittsburgh and have them play at the level that they do. So I see no problems. I see a lot of good things with the Penguins. They have players. It's great to see Bo Bennett back.
Yep.
And within a game, the guy's scoring a goal.
And how's their schedule looking? I believe they play. Do they play the Rangers again this week, or who do they have next coming up tomorrow?
It's Islanders back-to-back.
Islanders. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's Friday and Saturday then?
Yeah,
Okay.
home and home.
And how's that looking for the Penguins against the Isles?
The Isles are a very formidable team. They have managed to build a team now around their star. And it's really good to watch. I don't want to get too happy about the Islanders because I remember the years that they, as a Penguins fan, that they kind of took me out of contention.
How about that?
So there's a little bit of natural hatred toward the Islanders. But I think it's always better when there's good competition within a league and within a division to watch that kind of stuff go on. So
yeah, I was watching the game the other night, and the big boy, he's skating and he's just shooting the puck to what's his name? Jimmy had mentioned it before. I called him the goon, but I mean he has a lot more than being the enforcer
Steve
for
Downey.
the Penguins.
PK Subban?
Downey.
Steve Downey.
Downey.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. The good thing about that was I was real critical of him a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they're listening to Thursday Night Sports Talk on the Air Network because somebody sat him down and said, hey, this has to stop.
Yeah, they're not
And it
talking.
stopped.
They're not talking very nice about you there. Hey, listen, we won't be in next week, guys. You hope you have a nice Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much turkey.
You too, guys.
Hey, but we'll see you in a couple of weeks back here on the airnetwork.net for Thursday Night Sports Talk. Thanks for checking us out. We'll see you after Thanksgiving. Have a nice one.